This tutorial is to help you learn to factor trinomials. I call this the M method. The first thing you have to do is to recognize, is a polynomial a trinomial? Trinomials all have three terms. Something like x squared plus 4x minus 7 is a trinomial. There are 1, 2, 3 terms. The first thing you want to do is, once you recognize that it is a trinomial, is to put it in decreasing order or standard form. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the exponents, these are 2, 1, and then none. So it's in standard form. The next thing is to bring down your first and last terms. Notice I'm bringing down the plus sign with the 21. The next thing, and this is when you form your M, is to multiply your first and last term. So I'm going to put that here in my little dip. So x squared times 21 is x squared. So now is the thinking part. What multiplies to give me 21x squared and adds to give me 10x? Well, to come up with that, I'm going to think about, well, what multiplies to give me 21? 1 and 21, 3 and 7. 3 and 7 add to 10, and they also multiply to 21. So I know 3x and 7x would add to give me my 10x, and they would multiply to give me my 21x squared. So now I bring them down. It's a positive 3x and a positive 7x. Now we're going to use what's called factor by grouping. For factor by grouping, I'm going to group the first two and last two terms of my new trinomial or my new polynomial. Then I'm going to pull out the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor in my first binomial is x. So that will be plus 3. And then my greatest common factor here is 7. So that again will be x plus 3. I can check x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 7 times x is 7x, and 7 times 3 is 21. Now I have common factors again. X plus 3 and x plus 3. And then I'm left with my x plus 7. So to factor x squared plus 10x plus 21, that would be x plus 3 times x plus 7. Here's another example. First step, bring down our first and last terms. Multiply the first and last. Again, we're looking for what multiplies to give us a negative 12x squared and adds to give us a 1x. I can think about what multiplies to give me 12. That would be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I notice that if I have a plus 4x and a minus 3x, I'll write that down. Those add to give me my 1x and multiply to give me my minus 12x squared. So now I'm going to bring them down to this level. Now at this level we start to use factor by grouping. Again, I group my first two terms and my last two terms and pull out the common factor. This one has a common factor of 4. Now these have a common factor of x minus 3. I'm left with my x plus 4 for the rest of the factorization. And now I'm finished. Now, not all are that straightforward. Sometimes you have a lead term that is not 1. In this case, it's 3. But we're going to use the same process. If we bring down the 3x squared and the minus 8, multiply our last terms, that would be negative 24x squared. So now we're asking ourselves what multiplies to give us negative 24 and adds to give us the 10. So I'm just going to list my possibilities. Oh, I think I've already come up with one, because if I have a plus 12 and a minus 2, that would give me a product of negative 24, and those add to give me my positive 10. So negative 2x plus 12x. Now it's time to use factor by grouping. Again, I will group my first two and my last two terms and pull out the greatest common factor of each. And it doesn't matter if I had put my 2x first or my 12x. You're still going to end up with the same thing. Here, my greatest common factor is 4. I have my 3x minus 2, and I'm left with my x plus 4. So there's my factorization. Now you try these on your own, and then come back to the video and you'll see how I worked them. So pause the video now and try to do your own work. Okay, I want to point out a few things about each problem. First of all, I want to point out something about the first one. Notice that I have a negative 3x here. Plus 4x minus 3x gives me my 1x, and then when I multiply the two, I needed them to be opposite signs to get this negative 12. So when I bring down this negative 3, I have negative 3 minus 12 in my second set of parentheses. I'm factoring out the negative. So I'm factoring out the negative 3. So this becomes, inside here, a plus 4. So that's how that works. In the third problem, something similar really happens here too. So I brought down, here's my minus 5x, and so here's my minus 5x. I grouped them, and when I grouped them, if I group them like this with 5x minus 3 plus 3, then I would have to distribute this negative, and that would make this appear a negative, so I have to change that sign. So that's where that change happened. I factored out a negative 1, or just a 1 really, and it's important that you write that one there because that's a common mistake that students do. It reminds you that once you get the common factor of 5x minus 3, then you're left with the 2x minus 1. If you don't put that 1 there, it's easy just to drop it. Also, I noticed I made a major mistake over here. I factored out my greatest common factor, but I failed to bring it down here. Another common mistake that I made too. So I have to remember to bring all my factors down. So the complete answer for this problem should be 2 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. Here are two more for practice. You can pause the video and come back and I'll have them worked. Okay, for the first one, it's kind of a little trick because you'll find that it is prime. The reason is I'm looking for something that multiplies to give me negative 20x squared, and when I look at 20, the factors of 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, but none of these combinations will subtract to give me a negative 3. So I know that it's not factorable, so therefore it's prime. For this example, I end up with one of those with the subtraction here. And so what I did was I changed it to addition. I rewrote it. I changed it to addition and made it plus a negative 7x. Maybe that will help with any confusion that you have on that step. Then I factored out a negative 7, and so that's when this changed to a minus 3, because to get a negative 7 times a negative 3, that gives me the positive 21. Okay, I hope you like the M method. I think it works nicely for trinomials that have 1 as a lead coefficient, or the ones that are more difficult that have a different number besides 1 as its lead coefficient.